Okay, here's a pretty controversial idea. It's what I call my batoning formula. So, got ourselves a few different size logs, different species, and a few different knives. Now, everyone is worried that a full tang knife won't survive batoning. I have used dozens upon dozens of knives, including Moras, that survive batoning. Now, it's what I call an 80% tang. It's a stick tang that goes about 3/4 or 80% of the way through the handle. And it's easy to see on the Bushcraft series, the Pathfinder, and this is a stainless Bushcraft, that the tang goes till the, like kind of where you see the jimping on the end of the handles. So if you look, you still get a fistful of steel that runs through your hand until the back of the handle. It's more than enough to take care of batoning. So you got two different size knives of the same thickness to make it a little more scientific. Let's take a look at the smaller log, which is birch. As you can see, it's pretty dry. It's already got some cracks forming, so this is going to make batoning a lot easier. If you can read the log, that's the most important thing. I see one big knot junction, okay, maybe two big knot junctions, and a very, very hard pith in the middle. And a second birch log, a very big knot here, and yeah, these are dried pretty hard. And this is still a pretty green piece of what I believe would be poplar, and center's pretty dry. It'll produce a lot of steam, this one, and it'll produce a lot of really nice, sweet smelling burning material. So, most important thing is reading the log to find your knots, to see if it has any cracks, and also to see which direction the grain is going. So, let's take the bigger knife. I can place it directly in the middle of this log, and I still have about an inch at the front and an inch at the back. To me, that ratio of log to knife length is more than enough to say, hey, if this was a nicely dried piece of wood, I can place this in the middle of the log, I can smack it with a baton, especially with a really strong, super sharp scandi grind, and it should be able to survive batoning. Now, after the hundreds of knives that I've used, batoned, abused, that's what made me inspired to start this channel. Yeah, I don't see any dings or nicks on that edge there. But let's just move us over a bit so we can have a bit better look. There we go. That's nicer. So, as you can see, it's starting a pretty good split in the middle. If you're worried that the middle length of the log is too much, why not just move it over quite a ways and quarter the log following the four directions of the winds, and this way you get four pieces of flat pieces of wood you could use for a base of the fire or starting to carve spoons or whatnot, and then that way you have a pretty safe piece of wood that you're not going to worry about destroying your knife. Now, as you can see, that did a fantastic job of splitting even a really rough, semi-dry piece of wood. See? Pretty good. Now let's take a smaller knife of the same thickness and let's place it. Now this is what I call pushing it, is when you don't have an inch at the back, you just have an inch for your batoning at the front of the log. But yeah, the very abrupt scandi grind acts sort of like a splitting wedge, I find. And as soon as you get that first couple hits in the log, if you can see clearly, the actual bevel is no longer touching the wood, just the main stalk of the blade. That's why I love scandi grinds as my favorite. Any bigger size logs, I would just use for main fuel for the fire. And it just absolutely splits it in half. So it's about minus 20 degrees Celsius. These are Rockwell hardness of about 56 to 58, 12C27 steel. A very fine carbited budget steel with even distribution of carbides. Stainless, mind you. This one is carbon. So yeah, I think that's end of discussion. Okay, let's just see how this thing will scrape magnesium and then just light some birch bark. So the spine is an amazing scraper. Okay, look there. Okay.